Hey Jaywalkers, great to see you again. Today I want to talk to you about your story. So my question for you is, what's your story? And how do you tell it when you get a chance to share it with somebody or when you have to defend it to somebody? This is where we find Paul in Acts chapter 22. He is being accused of some things that are misleading, and some of it is not true and misrepresenting him. And he gets this opportunity to speak to his accusers. And you might wonder how he's going to do that, but how he does it gives us a lot of information about what we should be sharing with people about ourselves and really what we should be defending, because he goes straight to Jesus. And I want to give you 3 really simple points that you can think about when you go to share your story with someone, and they'll help you kind of fine tune it, because if you don't think about these things in advance, then it's really easy to kind of just ramble or maybe get a little bit lost in your story. So that's something that I want to talk to you about today. We're going to read Acts chapter 22, verses 1 through 11 to get there. Here's what it says. Brothers and fathers, hear the defense that I now make before you. And when they heard that he was addressing them in the Hebrew language, they became even more quiet. And he said, I'm a Jew born in Tarsus in Cilicia, but brought up in this city, educated at the feet of Gamaliel, according to the strict manner of the law of our fathers, being zealous for God, as all of you are this day. I'm going to pause just really quick and just talk about what he's doing right now. So first of all, he is talking about his past. He is telling his story. And when he's doing that, he's making himself relatable to the people that he's talking to. So, if you ever take a communications class, or if you ever are in a place where they teach you how to speak to someone, that's one of the first things that they tell you, is to kind of know your audience and to make yourself relatable to those people. And that's what Paul is doing. He is showing them how he is like them in many ways. He's from the same place. He really had the same goal as a bunch of them. He's saying, I know what you guys are doing right now because I used to do the thing that you're doing. You're coming against somebody who seems like he's against the Jewish people. And that's what I did. And you're going to hear him say it even more. So he's making himself relatable. He says in verse 4, I persecuted this way to the death, binding and delivering to prison both men and women, as the high priest and the whole council of elders can bear me witness. From them I received letters to the brothers, and I journeyed toward Damascus to take those also who were there and bring them in bonds to Jerusalem to be punished. So he's saying, I did the same thing that you guys are trying to do to me right now. I did that to people. And that's my past. That's my story. By the way, that is proof that everybody's past, everybody's history, there's things in it that probably we wish we would have not done. We wish we would have done differently. But at the time, it just it seemed right. It seemed like the thing that we were supposed to do. And we were just off. Paul thought he was serving God. Paul thought that what he was doing was what God wanted him to do. Just like these people probably do in this moment. And he is painting this picture of, hey, I get it. I was like you. You're like I was. And that's making himself relatable as he tells his past. Verse 6, it kind of shifts. As I was on my way and drew near to Damascus, about noon, a great light from heaven suddenly shone around me. And I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And I answered, Who are you, Lord? And he said to me, I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom you are persecuting. So that is how he met Jesus. The first point is your past, and it is sort of how you used to be. Everybody's kind of got a specific thing. Paul's was that he persecuted the church. Some people's might be that, they were lost in a certain type of sin. They were, on drugs, or they were living like the prodigal son, or whatever their story is. That's their past. And then there comes a day where they meet Jesus. Now, Jesus is the one who initiates this meeting. Paul didn't expect or even want this to happen. Jesus set this up. And when Jesus shows up, light shows up. And Saul saw Jesus' light, and what happened to him was he was blinded by that light. And that's kind of showing what his life was like spiritually. He was spiritually blind. He could not really tell the truth from the non-truth. And he thought he was doing the right thing, but he wasn't. And he's also confronted with the fact that he was sinning or persecuting Jesus. Now, he wasn't persecuting actually Jesus. He was persecuting people who were trying to serve or trying to speak on behalf of the way, on behalf of Jesus. But it comes across to Paul as, why are you persecuting me? Because Paul is able to see now for the first time that his sins were actually against God. They were actually against Jesus. And it says in verse 9, now those who were with him saw the light, but did not understand the voice of the one who was speaking to me. That's true also for most of us in our story. There will be people who, when we see that light, they don't see it yet. They are still blind. They are still thinking that they're in the right when they're not in the right. Doesn't come to everybody at the same time and in the same way. So there will be people in your life, in your story, that you kind of, they don't understand when you meet Jesus. They don't understand what happened to you. They don't necessarily think it's real. They saw something change in you, but they don't get it. They don't know what it is yet. It's maybe not their moment to have that conversion experience yet. Doesn't mean we can't pray for them. Doesn't mean we can't hope that that's coming. But the reality of it is that not everybody who's with us is gonna join us when we see Jesus in that moment. And that's what happened to Paul. And it says, and I said, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said to me. So this is the third part of everybody's story. It's sort of like this moment where we surrender to God. And Paul does it in this case. First of all, he says, who are you, Lord? And so he's recognizing that this thing that's shining on him is bigger than him, more powerful than him. It seems like God. And then he says, what shall I do, Lord? So this is that moment of, I'm ready to do what you tell me to do, God. I'm done leading my own life. I'm done living the way that I was living. I can see now that I was mistaken on some things. What do you want me to do now, Lord? And the way that God answers that is great. He doesn't give him everything. He doesn't tell him immediately the 10-step plan for his life over the next 5 years, all the goals that he should set for himself, all the things that he wants him to do one by one. This is what he says. He says, rise. I like that. I like, don't stay down. Don't be down on yourself. Yes, you messed up. Yes, you were wrong about a lot of things. But get up. Rise. Don't stay down. Rise and go into Damascus, and there you will be told all that is appointed for you to do. So what he says is, get up and go somewhere, and then I'll give you the next thing. So he doesn't give him all the steps, just the next step. Sometimes we want all the steps. Sometimes we want everything answered right now. We want to know all the things right now. The most mature, longest walking Christian in the entire planet doesn't know everything. They probably just know the next step too. Nobody knows all of God's plans. Nobody can interpret perfectly everything that is written. We are all trying to figure it out. And what God does is he gives us the next step. All right. Next, it says, and since I could not see because of the brightness of that light, I was led by the hand by those who were with me and came into Damascus. So, there it is. Been waiting for that sneeze for a minute. Sorry. So Saul, at this point, needs to be led into the very place that he was going with a different purpose. Now he has a new purpose. And with that new purpose, he still can't do it on his own. God is going to put some people around him that are going to be there to help him through it. And that's part of this process as well of becoming a believer and a follower of Christ. We don't do it alone. We do it with others who maybe have already seen and have a little bit of an ability to help us and figure things out with us. And that's all part of our story as well. So what's your story? I don't know exactly what your story is, but I know it's got 3 parts. I know it's got a past, a moment where you met Jesus, and a future where you trust him and let him lead you step by step. And you can take those things and turn them into what's called a testimony, which is a story that when you have to explain yourself to someone, you maybe don't even talk about yourself that much. That's one of the things that Paul did when he's making this defense. He's starting out telling them a little bit about who he was, but he switches that story quick to who Jesus is and what he's done for him in his life. And if we're talking about ourselves the whole time, then we're still just kind of wrong, because we're not the main character of the story. Jesus is. We're pointing to him. We're representing him. As a Christian, if you are calling yourself a Christian, that's the truth for you. Jesus is the one that we point to. He's the one that our story has been changed by. And so I want to give you an example of those 3 things kind of for me, because what I was told is that you should really be able to, and I learned this in school when I was studying, Christian studies at Liberty University online and getting my Master of Divinity. And one of the things that they taught me there was that you should be able to give your testimony in about a minute. And I was like, geez, that's pretty quick. But the reason why is because you might not have a ton of time or a ton of attention from someone in every case. And so you have to be able to deliver who God is, what he's done for you pretty quickly. And if they have follow-up questions, then they can ask them and you can answer them. But you don't want to just kind of ramble for a really long time, because you lose people and you don't give them a chance to maybe sort of engage. And you don't know what in your story is going to be relatable to a person. So about a minute, and I'm going to kind of just read you mine. There's lots of different ways that you could do this, but I just wanted to give you one example. So here it is. As the firstborn son, I tried to be perfect, but I was letting other people, and sometimes myself, define what that meant. I was chasing praise from people for my grades, my abilities, and my talents. Perfectionism, self-righteousness, and pride became my identity. I even saw God as another being to be perfect for. I saw the light of Jesus when I realized that I was not perfect, but Jesus was. I started watching people who were actually trying to follow him instead of trying to get something from him. And I started to learn about who Jesus was instead of what he could do for me if I did something for him. I learned that I didn't have to earn his love. He already loved me completely. I pursue God now because I love him and want to live for him instead of myself. I still struggle with perfectionism at times, But God is constantly reminding me that trusting in Him and following Jesus is my new purpose and identity. I just looked at the clock when that was happening, and that was almost exactly a minute. And I know that I read it, but that's because I wanted to give you the example. And you wouldn't read it necessarily when you talk to somebody, but you just share kind of like what that one thing was for you. For me, it was perfectionism, me trying to be perfect in my own power and in my own strength. And I failed at that, and it didn't bring me happiness, and it didn't bring me completion, and it didn't bring me joy and purpose. It brought me stress and worry and anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. Like I couldn't do the things that I was trying so hard to do. Jesus is the perfect one, not us. And I had to come to grips with that. That light had to blind me so that I saw Him. And that was what started me on this journey that I'm still on, that I'm still trying to figure out with people, that people still need to help me with all the time. And I still get wrong sometimes. But that's the thing now, is that I'm not performing for God anymore. I'm not trying to be perfect for God. I'm just loving Him and trying to learn more and more of what it means to know Him and follow Him. And so I do things not to earn His love anymore, but because I love Him. And so that is my story. And I, asked the question at the beginning, and I'm calling this message, what's your story? My prayer is that you'd spend some time to think about it. What's that one thing that sort of changed the most in you, or that was your biggest challenge prior to becoming a Christian? Might still be one of your biggest challenges, might still be the thing that you try to overcome all the time. But what's changed in your life? And by the way, you haven't gotten it all figured out yet either. I know that because you're a human being, and Jesus is the only one that's perfect. So if you want to know Him, and you want to trust Him, and you want to walk with Him, you can do that today. You can see that light today and allow others to come alongside you and lead you to the next step on this walk with Him. Let's pray together. Say, God, thank you for your truth. Thank you for your story intersecting my story. God, I know that Jesus wants me to know Him, wants me to trust Him, wants me to stop relying on myself. I know that He came to die for me, not because I deserved that, but because I needed that, even when I didn't realize it yet. I can see that right now, and I thank Him for that. God, thank you for sending Jesus to die on the cross for my sins. I surrender to Him. I say, Lord, what do you want me to do? And I submit to whatever that looks like. I'll do it. God, help me to know. Send others to help me get there. And then help me to do like Saul did when he became Paul and just was a whole new person whose whole life was focused on knowing you and making you known. I love you and thank you. I give you my life today and forevermore. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening to a little bit of my story and a lot of what the Bible has to say. God's story intersects with our story, but it's always about Him. It's always pointing to Him. I love you, Jaywalkers. Keep walking for Jesus. Keep living like Him. And I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.